What's going on, you guys? Zach here from PremiumBeat.com. Today we're going to be talking about beefing up your slow-mo footage. If you're like me, you shoot a lot of slow-mo and sometimes it can get maybe a little bit boring. You're like, oh man, like maybe I'm using this too much. Well, you might not be using it too much, you just might not be using it properly. And here's a couple tips that I've learned along the way of doing like music videos and commercials and sports ads and those sort of things, and what props you can utilize that are really cheap but can enhance your project like to the max. Okay, the first one is baby powder, which if you watch any sports ads, you'll have seen this already, but it's a simple little trick that you can put on to like your athletes or somebody running, or maybe it's like a dreamy music video, just to emphasize on the movement. So what I did in this shot was I put on Raven's hands, and then when she was punching towards camera, it just picked up that motion really well. So it's almost like creating like a ghosting effect. So basically, let's say if you put it on shoes, you're kind of creating like this interesting trail, and it also acts as a bit of ambience to the room. So after your character is moved, it really just creates a cool atmosphere floating in the space. So feet, hands, any sort of like body movement. I mean, I even got like Raven to like clap her hands here, and it just looks so epic. It makes everything just look a lot cooler. Maybe you're doing a video in a unique location and someone's doing some running. If you have a little bit of baby powder on hand, you can put it on their shoes and get them to like run towards camera. It's gonna look a lot cooler than just like someone running towards camera without anything. My second item of choice for doing like any sort of slow-mo stuff is like fabric or materials that catch air really well. So sometimes I'll use like curtains look really cool, clothing. If you have like a leaf blower or something, you can catch clothing really well and it reads super cool in slow motion. But also any sort of like light materials. So what we played around with was like these party streamers, and just got Raven to run around the room with them. And so basically a thing to keep in mind is that it's anything that picks up a lot of air and creates a lot of motion. So fabric works really well, party streamers, and the faster you move it, the better it picks up the slow-mo. And a quick rule of thumb to keep in mind when you're shooting slow-mo is stuff that moves really fast looks great slow. Anything that moves really slow looks great really fast. But don't try and slow down stuff that's already slow, because it just doesn't read that well. So I would try and keep in mind, like whenever you're shooting like your slow-mo scenes, think, okay, this thing's moving really fast, so this will look really awesome. So think of like, if you're at a beach, don't film the sand in slow-mo, film the waves. And so to keep that in your mind, if you have a subject on camera who is your actor, or maybe you have a prop, make sure that prop is moving really fast. And so what I say to, let's say my actors, is I say, look, we're shooting high speed. So meaning whatever your motion is, react about like 40% faster, and depending on the frame rate that you're shooting at really determines how much faster they should react. So I'd recommend filming it, watching it in playback, and if you can, look at your playback and see what slow motion reads as, and if it's not going as good as you think it is, then ask them to ask faster. Ask them to act faster. Okay, my third one is paper, also known as just like any other material. So what I really like about paper is it fits into a lot of different scenes and scenarios. You have like an office and somebody gets really upset in the office and they throw the paper, or you do like a kind of dreamy sequence where someone's going crazy and they're on their pen and paper and their paper's flying around. I don't know, it's a cool technique to have in your back pocket when you're shooting like interior, let's say office. And a good example to show with the paper is that it's a heavier material, so it goes down a little bit faster, but it also catches air really well, so you can create some really dynamic flowiness as it goes down. And so what I like to do with like the paper toss technique is have it basically layered within the scene. So when somebody throws it, I'll make sure they throw a bit in the background, and then I'll also make sure they throw a bit in the foreground. So therefore you have stuff kind of coming across in front of camera, creating a bit of depth, and then the back also separates your lead character from whatever the backdrop is. And a bit of a pro tip, whenever you're throwing paper or any material in the air to create that cool slow-mo flow, that sounded really cool. A good trick is to throw it actually at the ceiling if you're shooting like a low-hanging ceiling area, and that'll hit the ceiling, it'll bounce, and then just kind of flop down really beautifully. Okay, and then my final one is utilizing liquids. So water looks super cool in slow motion, and if you've seen, again, any sports ad will cover their characters in like sweat, pouring. If you watch like the water falling into this glass here, it looks really cool. We shot this at like 120 frames per second, and since, again, liquid flows really fast, slowing it down looks great, and because as the water particles flow in the air, they're picking up a lot of air and reducing the speed with gravity, so it creates a really cool effect when the water particles start to separate in slow motion. So these are all just examples, but they hopefully provide a bit of a backbone to what you can start filming with in slow motion. Each example provides a different representation of different particles that work really well in a slower speed. It's just sparking that creativity and showing you what's available with different materials and with different props that you can utilize for no money. All the props I utilize, I picked up from the dollar store, and you can even use household items. Anyways, guys, I hope that helped you out with shooting your next slow-mo sequence. Maybe you're in a new remote location, or possibly you're shooting your vlog, or maybe you're doing a music video. Keep in mind that to enhance your slow-mo scenes, you can utilize props to fill up the space, make things look cooler, and give your actors even a little bit more emphasis to whatever they're doing. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give PremiumBeat a subscribe. Love to have your support. If you have any ideas of other things that you utilize for your slow-mo footage, I'd love to read that in that comment section below. And yeah, keep making some great stuff. And yeah, I'll see you guys in another tutorial. Take care.